One of the more challenging things that you have to accept as a professor, and most of us go through this, is that you can do everything right, and you can think in your head, and you can go back in all of those moments and think in your head in terms of what you could have done differently. And even when you do that and you look back and you say, I did that, you could still end up being a failure. And I know that that is a challenging thing for you to think about. And coming to this realization occurred to me very early on when I was on the job market for after my PhD and I didn't get a job. And I realized I did everything right that I thought I should do. I worked very aggressively. I put in the time. I did extra courses. I did all sorts of different things. But I was still a market failure. And I began to realize that the market itself doesn't necessarily care about what goes on. The market is the market. And this is a cruel and ruthless thing to learn about, but it's very true when you are becoming a professor, when you are, maybe you're a grad student, a PhD student, you will have to learn that the market is the market. And there's very little that you can do. And all of us go through these moments where you feel like that, and you realize, like, wait a minute, I thought things were supposed to turn out differently. Now, I think that there are a fortunate few where that doesn't happen like that, where things sort of click and it becomes very easy for them. But for almost all of us, we all have to adjust and think about how we are and what we are. And we all have to recalibrate and say, wait a minute, that market doesn't understand what's going on. Now, one could do two things. One could adjust to the market and realize that you are a failure and think in your head that you'll never be able to amount to anything and leave. The other thing what you can do is stay true to what you are and realize that some things just take time. And sometimes the market doesn't match up. Sometimes the market is completely what's called irrational. It doesn't align with what people would expect and think about. And that's okay. That is what's going to build this quiet confidence inside, where you're going to look at other people and you're going to say, I am as good or better than everybody else that's here. And I'm just going to stay here doing my thing because I realize that this is an important thing. And sometimes you have to go around the standard way of how the market actually operates. And you just be yourself, whatever that looks like. And this is a cruel but important lesson to learn that I don't think you get unless you do something like graduate school, you become a professor or something that's entrepreneurial. You have to absorb that failure and be at the moment where you're just like, I don't care. And I'm going to get up and I'm going to do this every single day, regardless of what the market is telling me. Now, this is an important lesson that all of us will go through if you go through this route, is that you will think in your head, I went and worked with all of the best things and worked with all of the best people, did everything that I should do, and it doesn't work out. That's where you take a step back, and again, you can either admit what the market is telling you and you leave, or you say, I'm okay with who I am. And if the market doesn't accept with who I am, I'm going to do something that I'm going to be just okay at this moment. And you take that quiet confidence inside and you just keep walking forward. Now, and I realize that sometimes you might never be able to even get a position because the market doesn't accept you, or it's not going to become it's not going to help you in terms of, feeding your family. Well, then you're okay with walking away and going and doing something else, knowing that you were good enough. And this is a super important thing to absorb, to think about, that I'm just simply good enough with who I am. And yeah, the market doesn't match with who I am, but maybe someday it will, and maybe it won't. But I'm just going to walk forward and be okay, and I'm going to ignore all of those signals that are going on, and I'm going to play my game and what it actually looks like, because this is what I know. This is my reality. This is who I am. I think I often reflect on how that there's such an emphasis on success and getting to where you need to go to. This is, anybody's in the academic game, you'll understand that's the entire conversation. But by default, that means that many people are not the successful person that you're thinking about. And so we have to take a step back. For all of us, don't meet up to market standards, whatever those are, and you walk forward with quiet confidence. You say, I'm okay with who I am. And I build that inner strength, and I say, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because I know it's good and just and it's the right thing. And if the market doesn't accept it, that's okay. I know what I'm doing inside is the right thing. And I think the more that we can get to that inner strength, where you just simply say, I'm going to do the right thing at this moment and screw the market, that's where you end up changing your life. That's where you have a tremendous amount of growth and development. You can walk around being confident with who you are. I want you to always absorb that and think about that. Don't listen to the market. It doesn't matter anyways. Listen to what is going on inside and be that true person inside that allows you to do the good things that you can do. The market's not going to accept you anyways. It doesn't matter in the long run. And if it eventually does accept you, well, that's great. You've learned how to grow and have quiet confidence regardless of what's actually going to happen. Just remember that. It's a lesson in life that's very important. Being a market failure is one of the most important things that you will do in your life.